Mars Incorporated's Vice President of Public Affairs. Jan Stewart has a great deal of experience in public relations and community engagement, working with the Mars Volunteer Program, among other programs. Mr. Feigl comes to us with extensive experience, including in local government, having been appointed by then D.C. Mayor Anthony Williams to serve as a commissioner on the D.C. Commission for National and Regional Service, supporting volunteerism throughout the city. Please welcome Jan Stewart and Brad Feigl of Mars Pet Care.
Thank you, Mayor Benjamin, for the warm welcome. I'm Jan Stewart, and I'm joined here today with my colleague, Brad Feigl. We are so honored to be here on behalf of our 100,000+ Mars associates who live all across our great country. We operate in nearly every state, either through manufacturing facilities, our headquarter locations, and veterinary hospitals. And we make products you know and love, like Pedigree. Mayor Benjamin, I think he just walked off the stage, but we make Pedigree right in his hometown. And I'm sure you're familiar with some of our other brands like Mars, Skittles, and Uncle Ben's. But today, we're here to talk about our Better Cities for Pets program. As many of you are aware, it's all about helping communities become more pet-friendly and working to break down barriers to pet ownership. The benefits of pets are indisputable. Simply put, they make our community safer, our economy stronger, and keep us connected. As more and more people move into cities, whether they're millennials or empty nesters, the family dynamics are changing. And as cities, we have an opportunity to be better equipped to serve the needs of these families. We are excited to be here today to award grants to the cities who have joined the Better Cities for Pets movement. We launched this program last year with several pilot programs in our hometown of Nashville. One of them in particular is near and dear to me. It's called Pets Welcome, and it's all about working with businesses and commercial districts to be more pet-friendly so we can all shop, dine, and relax with our pets in tow. This is so important to the quality of life in a community, and I know personally I'd love to take my dog more places. But it's so much more than that as well, from animal welfare to pet education to innovative services and tackling tough issues. So let's take a quick minute to look at some of the other aspects of the program. In this video, you'll also see our partnership with Mayor Bowser from DC, which also happens to be home to our corporate headquarters. Here's the video.
They are a joy. They make you happy. They make you smile.
Better Cities for Pets is so important. You know, you have cities growing, becoming more urbanized, and we have cities that just aren't set up from an infrastructure standpoint. We just launched a playbook that includes the 12 traits of a pet-friendly city. If you go to bettercitiesforpets.com, join the movement, and help us advocate for pets all across this country.
And so city officials, mayors, council people, people who are elected have to be more responsible for not just people, but for people's pets.
If developers provide amenities for pets, it creates a clean environment for the city.
Thanks to a generous grant from Mars Pet Care, we will be installing new bag dispensers in our neighborhoods. So if you forget your bag, hopefully there won't be one far away.
Earlier this year, together with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, we announced the Better Cities for Pets grants program. We're so blown away by the response. In just 6 weeks, we received nearly 50 applications. These applications were quite extensive, from cities outlining proposals for new and existing programs, all designed to make our communities better for both pets and people. Thank you to all of the applicants. All right, let's get to the award winners. Brad?
Thanks very much, Jam. In the small city category, the winner is Hollandale Beach, Florida. The city of Hollandale Beach will establish a responsible pet ownership campaign that has studies show that education drives positive outcomes for the health and safety of pets, pet owners, and the community. When people are prepared for pet ownership and understand how to integrate them into our homes, less pets are lost or surrendered, which alleviates stress on animal welfare organizations. I'd like to sincerely congratulate Vice Mayor Michelle Lazaro. Now, Mayor Lazaro, would you like to come out and say a few words?
Right here.
Wonderful.
Hi, everybody. We're so happy to accept this award. Hallandale Beach residents, we love our four-legged pets like they are our family. And we want to thank the U.S. Conference of Mayors and Pet Care. We are going to be a better city for friendly city for pets, I'm sorry. And we believe that this $20,000 grant, which is so generous, we are so grateful, will help us to implement the programs that we hope that will become a model for all of the small cities and large cities to adopt. So we're going to work with our Hallandale Beach Police Department and our Parks Department to help Hallandale Beach residents and others become responsible pet owners. Thank you so much. We are so grateful for this generous award.
In the medium city category, I am very happy to announce Richmond, Virginia as the winner. The city of Richmond is working with Pet Partners, a national nonprofit organization that focuses on improving human health and wellness through the power of pet therapy. The grant will support an effort to increase much-needed therapy animal teams, which these teams are critical for improving health and well-being through programs like hospital visits or children's literacy. Congratulations to Mayor LeVar Stoney.
Well, I want to first begin by thanking Mars Pet Care, and also we are very, very excited to begin our program working with Pet Partners to provide these animal therapy teams. You know, I always say to my folks back at home is we're doing a good job and we're putting a smile on people's faces. And with our four-legged friends, we're able to do that for young and old alike, veterans and those who are living in senior centers all across our city. So we're looking forward to the partnership. I want to thank the U.S. Conference of Mayors and thank all those participating cities who also received the grants. Thank you.
In the last category, for the large city, the award goes to Fort Worth, Texas. With this grant, the city of Fort Worth will locally implement Pets for Life, a national program that provides pet wellness resources to residents in undeserved and in poor communities. The Fort Worth area has a need for mainstream veterinary care, and the city will use the grant to provide such service as vaccinations, spay-neuter programs, microchipping, and many, many more, treating nearly 1,000 pets a year alone. Congratulations, Mayor Betsy Rice. And I'd like to... Rice.
Howdy. Fort Worth is thrilled to have the opportunity to be here today to accept the Mars Pets. It's part of our Pets for Life program. We believe, particularly in our impoverished neighborhoods, that families that have pets, children who grow up with pets, are socialized better. They have better health. They exercise more. They're more engaged in their community. This is Henry, who's the city mascot. Henry was a stray in 2011 when Brandon Bennett, our code director, said, "I can't save every dog, but I can save Henry," and he was in terrible shape. Henry goes with me to town halls, walking town halls, community events, to the schools to talk to children. They absolutely love Henry. If you don't have a dog to go with you, get one. This grant will help us improve our neighborhood so much. So to Mars, thank you. To U.S. Conference of Mayors, thank you. We're thrilled to be honored. Henry? Henry's just overwhelmed. Come on, Henry.
Let's give another round of applause to those city winners. So as I mentioned, we were very excited about the response to the grant program, which we literally just announced a couple of weeks ago. We wanted to find a way to commemorate and celebrate each city who applied for a grant, especially given this is its inaugural year. So Brad and I put our heads together. We wanted to give a special acknowledgement to all the hard work to the cities and encourage everyone to continue their journey. So to do that, we're going to be making a very special donation. Very excited to share that we'll be donating $1 million worth of Nutro food to support every city that applied. We know that animal programs and the shelter systems are foundational, and pets have to be fed, so we're hoping that does that. And it's foundational to making every city better for pets. So again, thank you to all of the applicants. Thank you to the U.S. Conference of Mayors team, who are incredible to work with, all of you member mayors, and again, one last time, to Hallandale Beach, Richmond, and Fort Worth. We're thrilled to officially welcome you to the program and can't wait to see all the great work that you do. Thank you.
Another round of applause to Mars Pet Care. And each and every one of you will be going home with a new puppy today. So you just have to promise to love it and take care of it and feed it and everything else. So no, fantastic presentations, and congratulations to all of our award winners. This afternoon we have a very special panel for you all discussing the intersection of technology and America's cities. So please join me in welcoming our panelists, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, and our special guest, Sheryl Sandberg. Awesome. All right. As many of you know, you see these two guys all the time, great leaders in our organization. Sheryl Sandberg is the Chief Operating Officer at Facebook, where she has overseen business operations for the last decade. She joined the company in 2008 when Facebook had a mere 70 million users and 550 employees. The like button had yet to be invented, and today over 2 billion people around the world check Facebook every day, and they currently employ 28,000 people. Sheryl is also the co-author of the bestseller Option B, Facing Adversity, Building Resilience, and Finding Joy with Wharton professor and best-selling author Adam Grant. She's also the author of Lean In, Women, Work, and the Will to Lead, the best-selling nonfiction book of 2013. Speaking with Mayor Landrieu in the back, it's a big deal to be a best-selling author, and to do it for the entire year is incredible. She's also, of course, been a leader in the philanthropic world, founded a nonprofit organization that works to build a more equal and resilient world through 2 key initiatives, leanin.org and optionb.org. So happy to have you here, Sheryl.
Thank you. Thank you all for including me. This is so much fun.
So, I've got my hot questions, y'all. I think I'm going to do
We're ready.
my
Are we
cornet
ready?
thing.
I thought they were here for us, Mayor.
No, we're going to start off the rip, kicking the elephant out the room. Okay, let's go for it. But Silicon Valley companies and Facebook as well have been in the spotlight these last several months.
You think?
Yes,
I didn't
ma'am.
notice.
Yes, ma'am. I know I speak for many of the folks in this room and all the people we serve back home and want to know more about what Facebook is doing to protect people's data after all that we've seen. And obviously, Facebook has for years brought families together and reconnected friends and been a force for good. What's happening?
So I think the big question people have is, do we know we were too slow on election interference, fake news, and data protection? And we do. But it's not enough to be sorry. What matters is the action we are taking. Mm-hmm. And I think what you're seeing from us is a pretty big philosophical shift, that for the first 10, 12 years of the company, we were very focused on the good social connections could do, right? I've had the honor of being with the mayor in Houston. I've visited many other of your cities, and city by city, street by street, town by town, people connect on Facebook, whether it's during a disaster, whether it's for a birthday, whether it's the everyday things in your life. But I don't think we paid enough attention to the things that could also happen on our platform. I gave the MIT graduation speech this morning, and I talked about, an MIT grad is here, and I talked about how...
Is there one MIT grad?
That's okay. It's an enthusiastic MIT grad. But what I talked about was how we know that it's not just about technology, it's about people. And when you build something, it's going to be used by people, and people are capable of immense beauty, and people are capable of real harm. And our goal now is that philosophical shift where we're paying attention, not just to the good that can come, but also making sure we prevent harm. That said, we need to make sure our tools are used for good. And one of the reasons I'm so excited to be here, because it's stuff we've all worked on together, is what we can do in local communities. So right now there are 10 million small businesses in the United States that use Facebook at least once a month. And these are not tech companies. Mm-hmm. These are the companies you and I visited together. Right. Dog owner, cupcakes, right? Yes. Companies that are using Facebook to grow. 42% of those companies will say they are hiring because they're growing on Facebook. And you all know better than I do, and you all know deeply what happens when we invest in local communities, when we invest in local jobs. And that's part of what makes all the places you work thrive. And so our goal is to protect against the bad, but keep our foot on the gas pedal of the good. And I think a lot of the good is happening in all the cities that you represent.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. I want to broaden the conversation a little bit to our colleagues and to technology as a whole. As many of you know, you see the focus on infrastructure and innovation and inclusion. It's good to see my friend Artie Tandon. I see you at the Artie, who helped us coalesce around those ideas just a couple of years ago. Marty, you've been doing a great deal in technology here in Boston to help manage the city better, tracking incidents and response times, and other metrics to help deliver better services. You mind talking a little bit about that and those efforts?
Yeah, I mean, making better service more accessible is important to our constituents. It's a way for us to connect with our constituents. And one of the things that we did when we first came in, that we were measuring things year to year. We weren't really measuring things on a daily basis. And we created, actually my former chief of staff, Dan Coe, who's running for Congress right now, and myself created a thing called City Score, where we monitor every single stat in the city of Boston. We give ourselves a score in the course of a day. And it really, one example is that we were able to look and see that ambulance response times were down. It was in the red, and we looked at the city score and we said, well, what's going on there? Brought in the chief of EMS and said, why is our response time so slow? And two things popped. One was the crisis that we're going to be talking about later, substance use crisis that's going on. But also our population was growing, and we had more people working in the city of Boston, living in the city of Boston, and we weren't keeping up with the growth. So we were able to use that, engaging our services. We're also able to, when we transferred our line over 311, we thought that we had a 635, 4500 was the main number for City Hall. And when we finally switched over to 311, many cities had done that before, we thought we were going to have to increase the capacity 4 times the amount of people working up there. And we also launched an app at the same time. And what we didn't see was an increase in phone calls, but what we did see was an increase through the app. So technology is a very important and big part of government right now. And I think that if you're a city in America and you're not using technology, you're missing an opportunity, number one, to connect to your constituents, but number two, to allow your constituents to connect to the city and get services through that app. And I think that that's what's so important. And we're also have alerts on our social media where we're able to alert Boston residents, whether it's a nor'easter coming or a parking ban or what have you. And the last thing I'll say is we went through a master planning process over the last 3 years called Imagine Boston 2030. It was the first time in 50 years we've done it. And we have a dashboard on our website to talk about what we're doing. And the difference now than in the past you do a master plan, and it would be a document, and you put it on the shelf, and it would sit there 50 years, and somebody would open it and say, they did this and they did that. Now, because of technology, that's a living, breathing document. You can constantly change it. Because of technology, what might have worked 3 years ago doesn't work today, and you can adjust that master plan to today.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Mayor Turner, the mayor of the fourth largest city. You told me you're on Chicago's heels, about to be the third largest city. If you have your way.
I'm gonna be nice to Chicago today.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at the center of a metro area, boasts a $500 billion GDP, incredible growth. How are you using technology to move Houston forward?
Let me focus on something that we've been talking about at the U.S. Conference of Mayors all day, starting with the metro economies with Mayor Fisher. We were talking about the divide, the wealth gap, not wanting to oversee a city of haves and have-nots. And the reality is that things are changing. Technology is here, and technology is here to stay. And the question is, how do we make sure that we equip the labor force so they can take advantage of those opportunities, and at the same time provide opportunities that people can take advantage of? One of the things, if I could tie in with what Facebook, when Facebook came to the city of Houston, they provided training to thousands of small businesses in terms of their digital marketing to be able to take their businesses and expand them. And so you had a cupcake company business. And by providing them with the tools that they needed, they were able to expand their business and hire more people, working with the Urban League and others. And so that has been a tremendous plus. We end up going to 2 communities that have been underserved and under-resourced for decades in the city of Houston, out in the Gulfton area. Probably the most diverse community in the entire city, but provided them with the tools that they needed in terms of technology, innovation, helping with their startup small businesses, and that's been a tremendous multiplier. Same thing in Acres Home, area that I was born and raised, still live. And so and the question is, what comes first? Is it the projects, or is it the workforce? Quite frankly, for the city of Houston, I think for most cities, both have to happen all at the same time.
Sure.
The businesses are coming forward, but we also need the skilled workforce. And so we try to take advantage of companies like Facebook and others to help partner with the city to provide the opportunities, the skills that are needed so people can remain connected and we don't increase the divide between the haves and the have-nots.
Sure. And the incredible growth that Mayor referenced that we saw in GDP growth, but now I think 91.2% of America's GDP is created in cities and metropolitan economies. There's an incredible opportunity apparently that most of us don't talk about, to partner with Facebook in helping cities actually better deliver services. Is that something we can talk about a little bit?
Yeah, we're really focused. We're focused on all the things we can do with the mayors in this room and the mayors who aren't here for cities. And we think of it kind of in 2 buckets. We think of it in terms of connection, and then we think of it in terms of building resilient communities. And so in terms of connections, 5,000 mayors in the United States are connected to their population, and that means that 90% of the people are connected to their mayor in the United States, directly. And that's the form of direct communication we've always been for. There are members of Congress who will post an explanation of the votes they make. So it's transparent, so people can see what you're doing on a daily basis, can feel what you're doing, can be part of the conversation. We also launched a product called Town Hall. I know you all know this, but a lot of people don't even know who their local representatives are. And you can go into that product and you can find your local representative, and it's an easy 1-click to connect to them. whether it's state or local or national, so that you can be represented and have your voice heard. Since March 2017, when we launched it, there have been 18 million connections through the town hall product with local citizens. And then there were even ongoing conversations, and I know a bunch of you have used it. So you've both gone Facebook Live.
Yes.
Right? And I think we've seen really great results there. San Antonio, Mayor Nuremberg, I don't know if he's here, is doing an Ask Ron Facebook Live. Is he here? He's downstairs, somewhere. He's on live. I'm live. He's there. But he's doing an Ask Live where he's going in and asking with the children. The Dallas Police Department is going live to recruit people for the police department. And then we see, those are the daily things. Then we see, unfortunately, so many cities here have had those times of real crisis. So I had the opportunity to be in Houston with Mayor Turner, and we visited the cupcake store you told is pretty incredible. This is a young woman who, she had a cupcake store. After Harvey, her traffic went incredibly down. She was worried she was gonna have to go out of business, fire her employees.
Right.
She started marketing on Facebook. She grew her business so much that when we were there, she told us she's opening her second store in the fall, along with all those jobs it will create. On Facebook, the community in Houston and around the country and the world raised $20 million for local efforts. Safety Check was used. 140 million people were reassured that their loved ones were safe. And I think what we saw was what we expect to see in the community. So the other man, you've probably met him before, but I met him that day with you, is a young man named Raymond. He owns a taqueria. When Hurricane Harvey happened, he realized he had tons of food and no refrigeration and no electricity to heat it. So he used Facebook on the community help page. He found a taco truck, which he would have considered a competitor. They teamed up. The taco truck had the ability to cook the food. He brought his food, and they drove around where people had checked in publicly on Facebook and fed people. And so what we see is mayors using it on a daily basis, but also the community using it to come together in those moments where we really need each other, but also to make those investments that make our cities and towns thrive. We are grateful for both of your partnership.
It is important. I mean, it's a way to get your message out there. We've done the Facebook Live, and even in the campaign side, on the other side of Facebook, at one point when we were running last year, I think we had the biggest following on Facebook for any mayor in the country. Now, Eric said he's going to correct that and be the biggest at some point, because he's going to sit there and make calls. But it's a way to get, it's a way to follow me on Facebook. I got to beat Walsh. Yeah, he does. I'm out pacing him right now. He's on the phone. I'll get on the phone.
But as a percentage, wouldn't yours be
a percentage? Yeah, blow him away.
My friend Eric, but.
But even like when all the conversation a couple years ago was going on in Washington about the immigrants, it was a way for me to get a message out to people that follow me on Facebook to talk about the injustice of what was happening. And I think that there's a very positive piece out there to use the tool as a way to connect to people. And I think that's, I know there's a lot of discussions going on all over the place about a whole bunch of different things, but it's a great tool to use to connect, and it is a great tool to use, particularly to millennials who don't necessarily follow, and it's more than millennials on Facebook, so those of you that are watching, I'm not saying just millennials use Facebook, but it's a great way to connect to people and let them know, as you mentioned earlier, most people don't know who their representative is in state government or in Congress, but this is a way to kind of get it out there.
There's another thing, too, that if I can mention, after Hurricane Harvey, of course, our local match is so high. I mean, our local match could be as much as $250 million that we don't have locally. So what we have been doing, we've been talking to FEMA about using a volunteer program to serve as a portion of that local match.
That's awesome.
So we've started this program called Houston Needs You Now. And the goal is to come up with 2 million volunteer hours in 1 year. And we are using Facebook and other tools to sign people up to chronicle their hours in a very detailed way, to come up with those 2 million hours in 1 year that would help to offset the local match, a portion of it, in terms of our recovery. And we couldn't do that without technology, because you need that framework to be put in place. and the technology has proven to be very, very helpful to us as we build out this program.
That's exciting. Yeah, thank you. I mean, obviously, there's so many different ways we can use technology to communicate with the people who rely on us every single day. Let's talk about the other side. There are also a good number of fears about technological advancement, what's happening with automation and advanced machine learning and AI, and just what the future of work looks like. People think that technology is replacing their jobs. We have our Mayor of South Bend, Pete Buttigieg, who's leading our automation task force and our Workforce Development Council, helping us focus on what the future of work looks like. Does Facebook have a position on exactly what this means for the American workforce and the people who work in our cities?
Well, we think about it a lot, and there are real concerns from the tech community and also from the community that technology will replace jobs, that technology disrupts the workforce, that people have to get retrained. And then there are platforms that everyone can use, and that's really where we came in. So about 3 years ago, we did a study with Deloitte & Touche, and they said that Facebook had created 4.5 million jobs around the world in a year. And I thought, really? How is that possible? And I was almost sheepish about it, like, really? Are we sure this is right? So now we've replicated that study with internal data and external experts over and over and over, and I'm quite convinced that number is too small. And here's why. We have 80 million small businesses on Facebook globally. As I said, 10 million in the US. 57% of them globally will tell us that they are hiring because of the growth on Facebook. And what people don't realize, I know the mayors realize, but I don't know if the general public realizes, is that the majority of jobs that are created in this country and almost everywhere around the world are small business. It is not big businesses, even though companies like ours are hiring. More than half the jobs will be created by small business. And so we know that this is how these businesses grow. And again, they're not tech companies. This is your local plumber, your local florist, your local dog breeder, your local cupcake maker who can start a business. And when you think about what it was to start a business, in our parents' generation, you had to take out a loan, right? The cost of starting a business was so high. And now, all around the world, I meet people who start businesses in their living room, sell online, they sell in trucks. And so the costs are being driven down, which means that the entrepreneurial spirit of the citizens of our towns, of our cities, can really grow. The other thing we're very focused on, though, is skills, because all of this is well and good as long as you have the skills to be part of it. 60% of the SMBs who use Facebook will say that digital skills are more important than when someone went to school when they're hiring. But the majority of people looking for jobs, and you all know this, will say that they don't think they have the skills that the market wants. And so that's why we're really proud to be announcing today that we're committed as a company, Facebook, to training 1 million small businesses and people in America's cities by 2020.
Awesome.
We're doing this in 2 ways. We're doing this the old-fashioned ways. We are on the road. We do something called Community Boost. I had the honor of being with Mayor Turner just a little bit ago. We did our second one ever in Houston. But we're a couple cities into a 50-city tour where we come in, we partner with local organizations like the Urban League to do digital skills training, as well as provide local businesses with marketing training they need and skills training. And then because we can't, 50 cities is not all of them, it's a small number of all of them, we're doing this online. We have 2 programs. One is called Blueprint, where anyone can come on. And this fall, we're gonna launch Learn with Facebook, which for digital skills generally. We know we can't do it alone, and that's why I'm so glad to be here and I've had a chance to partner with all of you. We are launching a partnership with community colleges, starting with Mayor Walsh with Bunker Hill and Roxbury Community College here, and we'll be doing that with community colleges around the country as well. What we know, and is what all of you know, is that when people get the opportunity to get the training they need, they can get great jobs. And it is up to us to help provide that training. I went to the opening of one of our programs called Grand Circus in Michigan with our partner. 85% of the people who got through our boot camp, our training boot camp, got better or higher paying jobs or new jobs. And these were people who just needed the opportunity to learn. So we are really excited to be partnering with all of you to help people get the skills they need, because that economic insecurity can only be met with real answers, real support, and real investment.
Oh, how about that? That's fantastic, and a fantastic announcement. Please, Marty.
I think that also, as we talk about job training programs as mayors, and we all have them in our cities and towns across America, we do have to train our workers with technology a lot more. We have a program in one of our local high schools, Madison Park. It's a mechanics program, but the mechanics of the mechanics program is changed now. When you have a car, it's run by a computer, by technology. And so as we think about, we launched a program, Boston Hires, which runs perfectly with Facebook. We have 20,000 people on a train, so we'll take you up on the 1 million people.
We'll do it.
But it's really about how do we make sure that the young people and the people that are in the workforce are trained. For a while there, I think a lot of us were concerned that robots were going to take over the world and we weren't going to have people working anymore. That's not the case. We're not seeing that in Boston. We've added 85,000 jobs in the last 4 years, and so people are still working in jobs, but we do have to do a better job, particularly to Mayor Turner's point earlier about income inequality and people that don't have the skill. We have to make sure that they have access to the skill so they can have access to the technological jobs that are out there.
Well, absolutely. Please, Mayor Turner.
And I agree, we got to get to them early. It's not about providing the technology and the training when people are adults and they're wanting to start a business or they've started a business. We have to get into these schools, into these communities as early as possible. In fact, even starting entrepreneurship programs while they're in school, because kids can start being entrepreneurs even at an early age. And then they learn very quickly. They'll pick up the technology very quickly. We just have to expose them. About a couple of months ago, I was in one of these communities where with the library system, we opened up this tech link portion of with the library. You have the standard books and everything else, but then one whole section was just on technology, just on technology. I saw all the kids over there on the technical end at the tech link. And hell, they were teaching me. I mean, I tried to act like I knew what I was doing, but I didn't. But I mean, it was everything from the music to the games, you name it. And we have to do more of that. And that's where many of our resources need to be. And especially in communities that but for, they would not be getting the exposure and the training. And so the technology is here to stay. And it's changing every single day. So we have to change the culture so that their minds are exposed to it. They're not afraid of it, and we don't lose them as we continue to evolve from a technological point of view.
We only have about 9 minutes left, so I'd love to just kind of go down and have each of you give some advice to all of our colleagues in here in particular, and then certainly, Ms. Sandberg, you to all of our private sector partners too. We won't have a chance to do community boosts in every city, as we mentioned, but there are some ideas that you share that are demographic agnostic, just good ideas of using tech to help improve people's quality of life. There's been some great research even by AARP and Milken Institute and others that even show that perennials are those of us who are either over 50 or are approaching 50, tend to be more entrepreneurial than even millennials, have some assets, have some experience. So all of us who are working hard to bring millennials to our cities also remember perennials need a little bit of love too, okay? But talk about some of the ideas, some of your best ideas or best programs, or just something that everyone can take away with them to help continue harnessing the power of technology to move their cities forward. You shared some great ones, but any other final words would be wonderful. We'll come down the line from Mayor Turner to Mayor Walsh to Ms. Sandberg.
Let me just say, at a time when you have communities that are still facing transportation problems, and I think there was a conversation on yesterday, in the absence of mobility, it's kind of difficult for people to move ahead. But technology can help to benefit those individuals who are at their homes, may be transportation dependent, but they can run their businesses from their home if they have the technology there at their homes. So there's a whole group of individuals that we certainly have to reach, people with special needs, disabilities. That doesn't mean a limitation. If we can get the technology in front of them, then we can connect them. I think for me, it's all about connectivity. And the more connected we are, the more we can move together, forward together. And so I think that's critically important. And it's all about, I don't think no one is smarter because, you live on one side of town and on another side of town. It is about opportunity. It's about exposing people to those opportunities. And if you want a great city, a great state, a great country, you name it, then you have to provide people with the tools that they need so that they can participate on this highway.
Fantastic.
In Boston, 1 in 5 people don't have access to the internet. So we launched a program called Wicked Free Wi-Fi. These are hotspots in certain neighborhoods. The one thing I would say, ensure that we're not capturing people's privacy information. So we're doing more and more of that around the city of Boston so people can get connected. The second thing I would say is training your staff in the city on cybersecurity. I think that there's another piece. So we're protecting the information that we have in the city, and we have a program right now. We're going through training our staff on cybersecurity to make sure that the because we have valuable information in our databases, whether it's tax records on one side or police records on the other, and I think training your staff is important. So on one side, making access to the internet for the entire community, if you can't do that don't have the access, and on the other side, internally, making sure the information that we have is safe.
Okay, fantastic. Ms. Sandberg.
Well, I'm not the expert. All of you are. But our message is really one of using the connections people have to provide the training. You know, we understand our responsibility to invest in the people of America, and we're doing that. And then the question is, how do we help them do what they do? So I'll just share a few quick stories that have mattered to me. I met a woman on International Women's Day named Natalie from Little Rock. She did a birthday fundraiser on Facebook. It's a new technology we have. And she raised $4,000 for a local domestic violence shelter. And as she told me, tears streaming down her face, she said it cost us $1,500 to get a woman out of an abusive home. So I saved, 2.5 people on my birthday. And what she did, which was really incredible, she said, not only did I raise money for my friends, but all of my friends now know about that shelter, now know that there are women in our town. I'm the co-chair of the Kids Campaign for the local food bank. 1 in 4 children in Silicon Valley is hungry. I know you know these numbers everywhere in the country, but I don't think people understand hunger in America and that we have too many children in too many of the places going to bed hungry. And we've done a lot of outreach online. We've done a lot of outreach to try to explain to people what's happening, even in the place where I live. And we see people coming together around things they care about. I met a woman in New York named LaToya, and she runs a group on Facebook called the Unashamed Wives of Prisoners. And they're women in her group, but these are women whose husbands, partners, fiancés, spouses are in jail. And the stigma, one of them was getting married to her fiancé who was in jail that weekend in a jail. And she said, this is so isolating, the judgment people have for her, the judgment people have of the situation she's in, but for her, being able to connect with people who served her, who understood her situation was so powerful. And so we're here to support you. We love seeing the mayors connect. We're so glad so many of you are doing it. We want to invest in your cities. We want to invest online with all the cities we can't visit in person, and make sure that people get the connections they get to build against resilience, but also the skills they need to be part of our economy.
Oh, that's fantastic. Sylvester?
And I can't tell you the number of apps that developed during Harvey. Right in the midst of Harvey, there were people who wanted to volunteer, but they didn't know where to go. And apps popped up, connecting people, volunteers to points of need. I mean, it just happened just like that. The technology was simply incredible. And then even during the debris removal, people were calling and saying, where are the trucks? How soon are you going to get there? And we ended up putting all of the trucks, about 450 of them, online so people could see where the trucks literally were and could kind of track them along the way. And so if a truck was 5 blocks over, at least people knew the trucks were moving in that direction, and it brought down a lot of the anxiety and the tension and the stress. So technology is just incredible for cities. The more transparent we can be, the better it is. When people can see inside of government and that we're not the mean, wasteful, inefficient operation. And so the more transparent we can be, the better it is for all of us, and the more support we can generate for the things that we need to serve them.
And Mayor, we had a chance to visit you, obviously, post-flood, Mayors Barnett and Landrieu and Tom Cochran. And I will say that the response of the people of Houston, Houston Strong, in particular the response to the entire region, was laudable. I mean, the commitment, just human dignity, the inclusive regional approach was something that was just downright impressive, and we're very proud of. So I want to thank y'all. Obviously, I talk to you guys all the time. Ms. Sandberg, Facebook has become an essential part of the American fabric. It's an incredible company, not the world, we care about the world, but it is a part of America, and you being here has elevated our conference and our conversation. We want to make sure we continue to build a good, strong partnership with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. So thank you for being here. Marty, Sylvester, love you guys. Appreciate your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. All right? Absolutely. Give you a hug.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, buddy. All right. And we're going to shift right into our infrastructure discussion, y'all, so nobody move. No one move. All right? So we're going to transition directly into our infrastructure plenary session. We want to thank Jacobs Engineering for this session, and I want to welcome Stephen Demetriou, the chairman and CEO of Jacobs, to the stage for a few brief remarks. Mr. Demetriou has an international business perspective of more than 30 years of experience and leadership in senior management roles. Over the course of his career, Steve has gained broad experience in companies in a wide range of industries, including metals, specialty chemicals, oil and gas manufacturing, and fertilizers. Please welcome Stephen Demetriou to the stage.
It's a pleasure to be here at the annual meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. It's pretty impressive that this has been going on for 85 years, and I'm excited to be here at my first conference. This is my hometown. I grew up here, went to Tufts University, and it's great to be back. A few more Tufts people than MIT, that's good. Many of you have known the firm CH2M, the engineering firm, which has been a member of this conference for years, and so I'm delighted to join you as the Chairman and CEO of Jacobs, the company that acquired and welcomed CH2M to our ranks at the end of last year. For more than 70 years, Jacobs and CH2M have been focused on delivering exceptional value to clients and cities here in the U.S. and around the globe. We've grown with many of you and worked alongside with you to deliver your aspirations for vibrant, healthy communities. Since completing our merger in December of 2017, we've continued to grow because of the great opportunities around our country. Jacobs now has a talented workforce of more than 77,000 employees. We're all united for a common purpose to deliver and promise a more connected and sustainable world. Our new Jacobs has created a unique professional services firm, one with greater capabilities to bring the best global expertise, leading digital intelligence, resilience, and sustainable solutions focused on water, transportation, energy, security, environmental, and social infrastructure. We're a partner that wants to work alongside of all of you as a good corporate citizen invested in the well-being of your communities and constituents. When it comes to designing integrated solutions to address big infrastructure issues, Jacobs now ranks #1 as measured by Engineering News-Record on the top 500 firms in the United States. This has only happened because of the work that our people do with visionary leaders like all of you in this room. We know that continuing to provide expertise and bring our talented architects, engineers, scientists, technologists, and futurists are critical to deliver your community's superior value. But most importantly, and very consistent with the theme of this conference and what I've heard so far today, is that we need to do this with a commitment of a culture of inclusion, bringing together diverse people and perspectives to solve complex issues. In every aspect of our work, we derive the best, most innovative solutions with active participation of people that represent diverse backgrounds, talents, skills, and experiences. And we're confident that together, with all of us here, with talented and diverse teams, We will make the business cases for investable infrastructure projects that attract the necessary private and public capital. We see this in cities large and small around this country, thinking differently about the future, transforming infrastructure, public spaces and services with investments in technology, resiliency, and sustainable management approaches. However, everything about the way we live and work and connect is rapidly changing. And think about it, it's been 85 years since our nation's public works program initially established essentially the current interstate systems, national parks, and improvements to our waterways. So it is way overdue that the topic of infrastructure has now regained prominence in our national conversation thanks to broad-based public support. Yet you know better than I do that we face public challenges, enormous complex challenges, issues like unprecedented urbanization, catastrophic climate threats, skilled workforce constraints, and stressed natural resources, all making a case that we've got to be thinking in terms of transformative change. It's pretty obvious that across the United States, we need what I like to describe as an infrastructure reboot. We got to move away from disconnected infrastructure developments that have been going on over the last several decades and have a more integrated master plan system that transcends single-purpose uses and jurisdictions. We must work together to leverage investment models and public-private partnerships for greater financial returns on your local infrastructure initiatives. And we have to have incentivized investments in next-generation innovations like smart technologies and sustainable approaches to make public systems more efficient, adaptable, and scalable. To deliver these innovative infrastructure systems, we can't just go out and do it. We need to change the fundamental processes and capabilities. We have to invest in workforce development, education, safety, and public health. And when I talk about health, we need to really think about mental health awareness and support for our workforces and increase social engagement and collaboration in all of our communities. And in order to do this quickly and be successful, let's learn from successes of other cities around the world, such as transformative infrastructure programs that we at Jacobs have been involved in places like London, Singapore, Toronto, Dubai, Sydney, demonstrating what's possible when inclusive integrated plans come together. So let's imagine a new future for our infrastructure, considering greater opportunities we have to deliver for society, not only in revenue terms, but also in measures of community well-being, economic opportunity, and quality of life. These are the ultimate outcomes that infrastructure measures are meant to achieve. For our part at Jacobs, know that we will never forget this mission. We are deeply appreciative of every opportunity to support you and once again to deliver the promise of a more connected, sustainable world, one city at a time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you. Our next speaker is Mayor Chris Bollwage of Elizabeth, New Jersey. He comes to us with an exciting update as the chair of our Brownfields Task Force. I want to personally thank Mayor Bollwage for his 20-plus years of important service on this incredibly important issue. During that time, he has testified on our behalf at least a dozen times and has helped us pass not one but two Brownfields bills. Please welcome to the stage Mayor Chris Bollwage of Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Thank you very much, Mayor Benjamin. I thank you for your leadership at the U.S. Conference and look forward to working with you. You know, actually, I have some good news from Washington, D.C. Despite the deep partisan divide that exists there, I'm pleased to report that a Conference of Mayors priority, the reauthorization of the Brownfields law, overwhelmingly passed both chambers of Congress and was included in the omnibus bill that was signed into law in March. And for those of you that may not know, brownfields are abandoned, underutilized properties that have not had their full potential due to environmental contamination. An estimated 400 to 600,000 brownfields nationwide, and at least one in every congressional district in our country. This was a Conference of Mayors priority in the 1990s and every year since. So last year, I, along with Mayors McCarthy, Mayor Mitchell, we testified on the Hill about what we thought a brownfields reauthorization bill should include. Both sides of the aisle were supportive, and they worked with us to design a bill that would improve the program. We worked with the EPA, we worked with Congress to design a program where local governments could apply for assessment and cleanup grants, as well as liability protection for innocent developers. It's been tremendously successful, leveraging over 129,000 jobs, $25 billion in investment, and in fact, every EPA dollar that is spent leverages another $16 in other expenditures. This new law contains many of our recommended improvements, including creating a multi-purpose grant of up to $1 million. And both sides of the aisle were extremely supportive as they worked with us to design a bill that would improve the program. We've increased the cleanup grant amounts from $500,000 with a potential up to $650,000. We've expanded liability protection for innocent municipalities and allowing nonprofits for the first time to apply for cleanup grants. I would like to thank all of the mayors who have helped us get this bill reauthorized. And just a brief story, in March during this omnibus bill debate, I was attending my aunt's funeral in March in Connecticut. I get a phone call from Judy Sheen, who tells me that the congressmen and their staff are meeting and the omnibus bill is being discussed and whether this bill will be included in the legislation. She asked me to call Congressman Pallone and his staff on an important issue during this debate. But not only did Judy Sheen call me, she called mayors in Wisconsin, mayors in Oregon, mayors in Connecticut, mayors in New Jersey, mayors in New York, and they all worked under this leadership to facilitate the instrumental lobbying of the U.S. Conference of Mayors that Judy coordinated. So this collective outreach had a positive impact and resulted in many of our recommendations being included in this omnibus package. It's a tremendous win for us and for all of our municipalities. I'd like to thank all of you for the opportunity to share this information and thank all of the mayors who worked extremely hard on this reauthorization. Thank you, Mayor Benjamin.
Thank you, Mayor Bowledge, Chris, for your incredibly consistent long-term leadership on this issue. Now I'd like to introduce the Mayor of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, Chair of the United States Conference of Mayors Task Force on Infrastructure. Through the task force, Mayor Garcetti is front and center in our efforts to help shape the federal government's approach to infrastructure policy. And while Washington may at times be stuck in gridlock, Mayor Garcetti keeps us moving forward. From downtown LA to the San Gabriel Mountains, Mayor Garcetti has led the way in reinventing his city's infrastructure, driven in part by his innovative approach to public-private partnerships. Before I turn it over to Mayor Garcetti, let's see a brief video capturing the infrastructure revolution underway in Los Angeles. Please welcome the mayor of the City of Angels, Eric Garcetti.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And you know, all of us know as mayors that cities are defined by what we build. And I think in our guts we also know long term that mayors are defined as well by what they build too. But if you say the word infrastructure, you can't get mayors to stop talking. If you say the word infrastructure to the average American, sometimes their eyes glaze over. They're not sure what it is, who's responsible for it. But at a moment of great political division, I would offer to you that infrastructure is something that unites all of us, as mayors, as communities, and as Americans. It doesn't matter whether you're from a red or a blue state, if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Every American I know deeply cares about the things we call infrastructure, that the lights will turn on, that their water will flow, that their commute will be a little bit better, that they'll have options of how to get in and out of their cities and even in and out of the country, bring the goods that they need to make their communities prosperous. And so whether we're talking about highways or subways, the ports or our airports, I want to take a moment today before we have a great panel that comes in to talk to us about infrastructure and transportation infrastructure in particular. I think that the cities of America and Los Angeles, as you saw included, have the plans, but only some of the funds that we need to take things from blueprints to boot prints, to actually go from the ideas to the construction that would gap the $2 trillion deficit we have of infrastructure in this country. And we know why we do this. We do this not only for the quality of life in our communities, but for the economic prosperity, to make sure there's good middle-class jobs in each one of the towns and cities we represent. Without a doubt, we need Washington's help to make that happen. It's music to our ears whenever Washington is talking about infrastructure. But an equally important ally is what we can do at the local level and the private sector as well. So that's what I want to talk to you briefly about today, the power of partnerships in getting your infrastructure goals accomplished. Los Angeles, as you saw, is a city on the move. We've been really a metaphor for what's wrong with America's infrastructure. We had bridges that were failing, airport, which is the most crowded and underbuilt, and of course, we're the #1 traffic capital of America. But we looked at how public-private partnerships might build our way out of this. And like you, I've always tried to govern not for today, but for a time after I'm mayor, when I'm just one of those taxpayers in my own town, looking around my own children and my own family at the quality of life and what we could do to invest so that my daughter could say, well, Daddy worked on that way back when, and thank God somebody did. And we're forging partnerships today that are going to help us with that tomorrow. Partnerships to create jobs, to grow our economies, and most importantly, to bring people closer together. Aristotle said in his book Politics that the city came into being to preserve life, but it exists for the good life. In other words, we came to cities to be safe, but the ultimate goal of a city is to find and to define the good life for each one of us, to get home a little bit earlier so we can tuck our kids into bed, make it to that date on time, to fall in love and propose to somebody, see something, a play or a piece of music that moves and stirs our hearts. So infrastructure isn't just about numbers and miles, it's about people. And I'm going to make a point that business often comes to cities and offers help, and we've got suspicions from two sides. Sometimes we hear from one side of the political spectrum, working with business means you're selling off public assets, and only government should hold, build, and maintain our infrastructure. On the other side, we've got folks who say only the private sector can build out our infrastructure, and we all know there's sometimes not a marketplace for things like making sure our toilets flush and water flows, that our energy grid and other things sometimes require us to have that public investment. But in Los Angeles, we've tried to tell business, instead of chasing them away, come to LA and test your ideas in LA first. We want to be an innovation test bed, and we want to plan a transportation future together. And let me lay this out. We had a great presentation from Sheryl Sandberg and the fellow mayors about technology. And in the two-dimensional lives that we lead, technology has been transformative. The way we communicate with each other on a screen now has never been easier. The way we can talk to each other via things like Facebook or FaceTime makes it easier to be anywhere in the world or the country and to see our loved ones. In commerce, the two dimensions of one click and Amazon delivers something to our house. But now is the time for the three-dimensional disruption of technology, that space that we live in and that we move in. In Los Angeles, we're taking an all-of-the-above approach. We just had a couple weeks ago a convening internationally of Uber Elevate, who are looking at VTOLs, or vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, those flying cars we were promised. They're coming. And we promised to be with Dallas and Dubai, one of the first 3 cities in the world to test them. And that technology is already being tested on military bases and other places. And certainly in my city, the promise of going from one end of town to the other for about the price of an Uber in 15 minutes and what takes us 2 hours today is compelling. We're working with folks like Elon Musk and the Boring Company to change new ways of constructing tunnels underground, with Hyperloop to move people or some of our cargo more quickly and more environmentally to the locations it needs to go to. In the Port of LA, again, Elon with SpaceX announced that he's going to be building the big Falcon rocket, something that will take human beings to Mars for the very first time. And we're looking at more terrestrial solutions, whether it's electric scooters and Bird, or looking at the different ways that we can get autonomous vehicles on the ground. We are choking in traffic, and we will try anything. But we also have made sure that the partnerships that we forge work. I chair our Los Angeles County Metro. We have 88 cities. Mayor Fury and others who are here from LA County are a part of that. 88 cities in a single county of 10 million people. But what we said at Metro is we won't just tell you the solutions to get from point A to point B. If you're a company, come and pitch us on a solution you have. It's like having the X Prize for the public sector in transportation, because companies will spend millions of dollars on their own dime coming up with a better solution that might be better than the engineers that we would put forward. And when we put only one solution forward and have everybody bid on it, those costs usually go up because people's creativity is lost. We're doing that at LAX at our airport too, which is now the #1 airport in terms of traffic of origination and destination. You'll hear from Mayor of Atlanta in a moment, and Atlanta is the busiest airport because of the hub traffic, but people get off and on the plane. LAX is now #1 in the country, and we're the 4th busiest airport in the world. And we're investing $14 billion in reimagining that. And we went to the private sector and said, you can design, finance, construct, even operate and maintain some of that, and making sure that they do that in a way that brings local businesses in and that creativity instead of a centrally planned solution. That's something that will create hundreds of thousands of jobs in Los Angeles, actually, but combined between an infrastructure initiative that we passed a year and a half ago to build 15 rapid transit lines in our city by the time the Olympics and Paralympics come back to America in 2028. We have seen 787,000 jobs that no matter where the economy is, will be there to give not just jobs, but careers to people, to buy homes, send their kids to school, etc. Our Office of Extraordinary Innovation at Metro is a place that accelerates that sort of thinking. That ability for us to say, when the world does come to our city, just like when visitors come to our home, who do we want to be 10 years from now when the Olympics are back in LA? What sort of town do we want to have? What sort of transportation networks? What sort of quality of life? Because we know when we do those things that it enriches the quality of life for all of us. Our public spaces where people collide and see each other. And long ignored as a concrete channel, we're doing this along the Los Angeles River. You might not know we have a river, but if you've seen Grease, it's where the Grease lightning chase happens, or Terminator 2, where we almost already die again to a Terminator, but we made it. It is a beautiful place that is a quarter of our population has walking distance to this, but we haven't had it as a green belt through our city in decades. And so we're investing hundreds of millions of dollars to bring a bike path there, trails, to build bridges like some of the ones that you saw there. And here too, we're turning to private partners. Sometimes it's foundations out of the beneficence of their hearts. Other times it's those companies that say, we got a better way of doing this. So whether it's those bridges over the river, the Delta terminals that we broke ground on at LAX last week, even Dodger Stadium, and I'm sure all of you, except those of you from LA, collectively hate the Dodgers, but we love them. And Dodger Stadium, the 3rd oldest stadium in America, which is on this beautiful point that overlooks my city, and at night you can see Los Angeles spread out like a bed of jewels. There's too much traffic in and out, and for the neighbors, we just announced that we're going to be doing an aerial tramway like you see in Portland and other cities, public transportation that'll take you from our train station straight to the baseball stadium. And looking at new modes, whether it's new technology for monorails that are coming with a small footprint, but also that can get up hills more easily than boring a very expensive tunnel through a hill, or some of the things that I mentioned. We are trying, again, an all-of-the-above approach to make sure that we become the infrastructure capital, not just of this country, but that America becomes the infrastructure capital of this world once again. So whether you're from a small town or a big city, if your infrastructure bill is $1 million or $1 billion, you matter and you count. I'll end with this. It is time for Washington to step up. When we last met in January, I think many of us were very hopeful. We had folks from Congress and from the White House come visit us, but that has stalled. So mayors, please push hard with your representatives. We know that the big ticket is where we live, The night that Donald Trump was elected as president, and there's talk about a $200 billion package now, America's cities passed $230 billion of infrastructure. So exercise the power you have where you live, and don't cede that to anybody. But in the meantime, we need Washington to close the deal on infrastructure. And I know that this is one bridge that we can build together. With that, let me introduce today's panel on infrastructure innovation, public and private partnerships. And we're lucky to be joined by leaders who know the power of partnerships. Our moderator is the great new Atlanta Mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms. And she recently launched the One Atlanta Initiative, which established the mayor's first office of equity, diversity, and inclusion, which is one of Mayor Benjamin's key themes at this year's conference and for all of us. Mayor Bottoms, I know you'll be able to ably steer today's discussion and keep us in our lanes and moving forward, but I'm going to introduce the rest of the panel so she can get straight into the discussion. One of our panelists is Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings, who also serves as the chair of the Education Excellence Task Force, and we know schools are part of our infrastructure and our human infrastructure. In 2013, Mayor Rawlings presided over the passage of $600 million in new city bonds to fund streets, flood protection, and economic development initiatives. And we'd all benefit from hearing from about Dallas's infrastructure journey. And joining our panel is some guy named Emmitt Smith. They say he played football for a while, and in not just Dallas, but around this country, we love Emmitt Smith, one of the best to ever hold a football, but now the chairman of E. Smith Legacy Holdings. He went from football to infrastructure, a smart man. And from airport redevelopment to building construction, Emmitt is well positioned to discuss how public-private partnerships can be a touchdown for cities. And of course, there's Joe Aiello, who's the chairman of the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority's Fiscal and Management Control Board. He's worked on several P3 projects, which have earned a dirty name, I think, around this country, because whether it was just looking at toll roads or Chicago parking meters, people thought P3s don't work. But we're seeing them work everywhere, and here in Massachusetts, he's making them work, and he's also worked on Maryland's Purple Line, new courthouse in Long Beach, and others. So that's our panel. I'd like to welcome them forward. Let me turn it over to Mayor Bottoms. Let's welcome our panel to the stage, and let's get America's infrastructure deficit closed. Thank you.
Oh, your name.
We have names.
There's your name down there.
How you doing?
Hello, Mayor.
Hello, hello.
It's my lucky day, I see. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. I am so glad to be joined on this panel by Mayor Eric Garcetti of Los Angeles, Mike Rawlings, Mayor of Dallas, Texas, Emmitt Smith. You all know who Emmitt Smith is, E. Smith Construction and E. Smith Capital Partners, but you all probably recognize him from another life. And also Joe Aiello, Chair of the Board of Boston T, Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. Let's give them a round of applause. I am Keisha Lance Bottoms, Mayor of Atlanta. I was sworn in January 2nd of this year, and I very quickly realized that every new mayor is a new mayor. And so it's great being here, and it was great joining many of you all in January to talk about many of the issues that are facing our cities. And very quickly, what I realize is that we have very common issues, and so much of that deals with infrastructure and transportation. And so we are going to hear from the best of the best as we talk about what's working in our cities, how private and public partnerships are enriching our cities. And so with that, Mayor Garcetti, I know that you've spoken a bit this afternoon, but I'd like to hear what's happening in Los Angeles and where you're seeing success.
Well, I might have laid it all out, but let me add one thing to what I said. We're finding success by being open-minded. I mean that both politically, fiscally, and in terms of urban planning. I think the people of any city have great wisdom about what they want. They don't always know how to get there. And then you have a world full of people who have different solutions. And government usually is very good at saying, we have the only solution, we will develop that, we will put that out to bid, and if you want to do our plan, you can come to us. But I think there's a transformation happening in Los Angeles where you're saying, look, we all know we have traffic problems, how would you solve this? And the craziest ideas, from the flying cars to new tunnels underground, we are open to empowering people. And government often is not there when you need folks to be there. or they're in the way when you don't want them to be. And we're trying to reverse that. So Elon Musk, when he tweeted out that he was going to do the Boring Company, he called me the next day. He said, "Do I need any permits for that?" And I said, "Yes, you actually do. Why don't we sit down and I'll figure out a way to get you to yes instead of no." And he's already underground, and he's already confounding, I think, folks who've done this for many years with construction. And I think by this summer we'll have doubled the pace of a boring machine underground, which means for projects that we have, we could double the pace of being able to break the back of traffic in a town like mine. So I would just say, I hope one lesson you can learn from LA is when you do take that risk and don't have another city be the first, you get a lot of brilliance that comes to you, and a lot of companies are willing to test their technology, willing to develop their systems with you. And yes, you have to be able to stand before your constituents when times that fails, but I think they will appreciate that finally we're being entrepreneurial and not prescriptive about how to solve the future.
Well, thank you. And Mayor Rawlings, I'm interested in knowing how the public has responded to this concept, which is, of course, not a new concept, these public and private partnerships. But what's been the response as it's being done in a very different way?
Well, from a bottom line standpoint, we track citizen satisfaction every year, and it's never been higher. It has continued to go up, and over the last really decade, it has been successful because of this strategy. Congratulations on being the second city for Uber Elevate, because Dallas was
number one.
Okay. No, and I think they come to cities, folks come to cities like that because you're creative. Now there's a kind of a book version of a P3, all right? But really what that is just bringing the private sector together with the public sector, figuring out how capital intersects with that and gets projects done.
So for the sake of our audience, I know we are great at using acronyms. Can you briefly explain what a P3 is?
Public-private partnership. That's what we've got. And so we've done it from airports. We've done it from roads. We built a park over a freeway. We've done it with our zoo. We are building the largest park in something that's going to be 8 times as big as Central Park, and through a local government corporation that puts a partnership together with private sector, so private funders can give to the private sector and they don't want to have to get caught up into politics. The other thing I think that we need to know, so it's worked well in Dallas. We're very happy, and I can't take all that credit. I think there's a spirit of that. There's a couple of North Stars there that I think are important. One is realizing there are trillions of dollars sitting on the sidelines trying to solve these problems that government, the federal government, is not going to give us the money we want. The state governments don't have the money. And we've got to figure out how to make things work. So understanding that there is an answer if we figure out the solution. The second thing is a spirit that you want to make sure that the private sector makes profit. That is not a bad P in this whole thing. Now, the other P is power, because the citizens want to have power, and we got to talk about how you do that. But there's a base foundational thought that it's okay that Emmett makes some money. And that has been an anathema a little bit into government.
But the mayor, let me just chime in on that statement, because as a private entity, when you start looking at the dynamics of the public-private partnership, the P3s, the private entity doesn't have to necessarily make capital just themselves, because we can actually turn to our governmental pension funds who have a lot of power, a lot of money, and have them invest in the same infrastructure. If America truly wants to upgrade its infrastructure and bridge that gap, you can go back, and you out there in the audience and the mayors of many cities, your citizens who are working for corporations who are publicly traded company where their dollars goes into a pension fund can actually turn around and reinvest that money back into the infrastructure that they're riding on and watching your city grow that way. And that money could be there for 20 to 30 years or more and clip the same kind of returns that a private investor like myself could actually make. So that's a beautiful thing, if you ask me. You don't always have to go outside to or be the private company that's talked about all the time making the big dollars. You can partner right alongside of them.
So how do you get mayors how do you get past us being risk adverse sometimes? Because I know it can be incredibly frustrating in the private sector because government's like dog ears. So things take time and people have to wrap their brain around it. And we always want to see where it's been done right. How do you get not just the leaders, but also the public over that hurdle?
Well, I think it's an educational process at the same time. I mean, obviously, most public people are actually concerned about the loss or the loss of control of an asset. There's two ways you can do it. You can sell an asset outright and lose complete control, or you can monetize the asset itself and maintain partial control right alongside of your partner who's investing significant capital into this project or to a series of projects. So monetization is one that I would propose, so you don't lose control. And you get the dollars that are there, you're able to allocate more dollars to many more projects and get more done for your citizens. And that's a beautiful thing also. So there's ways to have win-win situations. The question becomes, like the mayor said, you have to be open-minded. You cannot think about these things as we've done it this way traditionally for the last 20 years. The last 20 years are gone. We don't even have dial-up phones anymore. Everybody in this room probably has cell phones now. And so if you're going to transition with time, you have to be flexible in your thinking because if you narrow in your thinking, you're going to miss out on many, many opportunities. And you cannot get mad when an opportunity passed you by because you was not willing to get into the game.
And Joe, I want to make sure that you get to chime in here. We had a great conversation backstage talking about our challenges of affordability and how in Boston you were lamenting that it was not a part of the simultaneous conversation on how you plan transit and how you preserve the affordability of our communities. Do you mind sharing a little bit of that?
Sure. I think one of the things we did very well in this community was to make significant investments over the last 15, 20 years in both the highway and transit systems. One of the things we did not anticipate, frankly, was that despite the fact that we had a very strong equity notion, that is to build transit through communities that were poor and communities of color, that was a very good thing for us to do. What that spawned over the long term as the Boston economy has heated up is really pressure on that housing stock, and it has driven away the original community residents in many places. I think if we could go back 15, 20 years, we would probably make sure that we had more comprehensively dealt with city and state housing development enterprises to make sure that we anticipated that pressure on affordability and had done something about it. It's a great tribute that Mayor Walsh has made that his primary target for the city, but it's very hard to play catch up. Let me go back to the first round of questions, though. My other hat is similar to Emmett's, which is that I'm a partner in a private equity fund that invests in public infrastructure. In my view, there's a dynamic that runs two ways. We're looking for visionary leaders who can articulate where they want their communities to go. This is true both in Dallas, where we operate a series of toll roads, as well as in LA, where we operate the local courthouse there. It's important that we view the leadership there as having a conversation with the citizens about the kind of community they want to have, the kinds of infrastructure investments they need to support that, and why a certain implementation process such as a PPP is in their best interest, the taxpayers' best interest. That brings a lot of folks like us and Emmett together to compete for those projects. When we're competing for those projects, you're getting a better deal, better outcomes in Dallas. We're investing as part of our toll roads, investing with the mayor at his insistence on a STEM program in the Dallas Public Schools. It's a terrific, great investment for us. We take some of the profits out of it. We're using the pension fund money There were residuals. We're investing that back into Dallas schools. And there are similar things that are happening through Mayor Garcetti. So it's that visionary leadership that funds like Emmett's and ours look for as we make decisions about where to invest in this country.
Mayor Garcetti, I'm curious to know if there were 3 things that you could do differently as it relates to the public-private partnership as you're tackling infrastructure. What would you do differently?
Do differently. I would accelerate, so I wouldn't go slow. And I think sometimes we do it in a couple areas, but you know, that prescriptive approach that I mentioned doesn't work usually. I mean, imagine if we put out a bid for cars in our cities and we said, okay, we've designed this new car, please let us know if you can build this. People would laugh at us. I mean, we go to car companies and we look for the best vehicles. So I would say accelerate. Second is think about regional partnership. We've developed that now over time, but all of you live in a region, right? You're the mayor of one city in that region. In Los Angeles, we have, depending on how you count it, between 14 and 18 million people in the region. My city's 4 million of those. My county is 10 million. So the 87 other cities just in my county, I've spent a lot of time listening to those cities, to the things that they need and trying to represent them as much. And I think don't just fight for your town because most infrastructure stuff will cross borders. And so you need to be collaborative. I'd say the third thing too is don't close your mind to new technology. And I think oftentimes we say, okay, we'll do a P3, but it's still going to be rail in this way. When we have this breakthrough moment in that 3-dimensional technological disruption that I said, I mean, think about it, we have not really changed transportation. We're still building stuff from 100 years ago. It's a little bit better, it's a little bit faster, but here in America, we haven't really changed that mode. Why can't we leapfrog ahead? We did that with an interstate highway system when that was cutting edge technology. But when we have these conversations about high-speed rail, now that we're looking at Hyperloop and other things, like we just kind of say, okay, our environmental laws and other things, like we'll do the technological innovation in America, but let Dubai or China like try it first. When we really should be trying it here first, because then we can build the factories, we can build the critical mass. And along those lines, one last point, you know, we're also spending money in the Port of LA, which together with Long Beach, 40% of all the goods that come into all your cities come through in America. And I can't find one American company to build port equipment. When we're building $120 billion of public transportation in my city over the next 40 years, there's not one American company that builds rail cars anymore. So I think one other mistake is we should look at ways that we can build American, and federal government hasn't allowed us to kind of mandate either local jobs or American companies, and we need to be not ceding that to other countries. We need to be investing that, I think, here in America.
Thank you. Mayor Rollins, how do you define success for these public-private partnerships?
Well, I think first of all, when you talk about things like this, you have to have a long-term perspective. Understanding the capital that most of these folks are interested in going through. They don't need to have the highest IRRs, but they need to have longevity. So is something going to last 20, 30, 40 years? And that's what's tricky in politics, because you ask the question, how do you change people's minds? And Emmett and I were talking about it earlier today, that what our job should be is building a great city or a country for 4 decades from here. And we don't do that. So that's the first thing I think you've got to do. And then second, you have to define those yardsticks, those football analogies, first downs that are going to be successful. We are going to have the first high-speed rail between Dallas-Fort Worth and Houston in America. And
what's the time frame?
It's going to be running by 2022. Okay, so just right around the corner. We've got a lot of available land. I know California's tried it, but we've got a lot of more open space land, and that's going to change the landscape because we're doing that. But it's a long-term perspective. We're also into stealing ideas, stealing technology. It's going to come from Japan, okay? We're taking the train set between Nagoya and Tokyo, put it right there, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel, all right? But I love your thought about thinking more creatively, and we don't, in government, we don't look, nobody votes for us for innovation. I mean, we don't invest R&D. We think about it, we come to conferences like this, but there's not a process and a system that does that, and we need to do a better job at that.
So it was interesting to me recently. I went through this great exercise on professional development and leadership. And the feedback that I received is, as leaders, we are great at taking risk often before we get to where we're trying to go, in this case being mayor. And then we certainly become risk adverse. So as Emmett, as you talk about this public-private partnership and we talk about taking risk, as a mayor, there's no better way for me to sell it than to show it to the community and what it means to the community. In Atlanta, we often are talking about minority participation. So what avenues do you see, especially for minorities in this space, to have a meaningful partnership and be a meaningful part of this public-private partnership?
Great question. I honestly believe it begins with policy. I think the policies and the diversity studies that we have right now have been very limited in scope. They don't get detailed enough. And when you start breaking up the pieces of a project, whether it's engineering, there's an opportunity. Whether there's financing, there's an opportunity. Whether there's construction, there's an opportunity. Whether it's supplies for the materials and everything else that goes into making this project happen, there's an opportunity. Not only that, but there's a hiring opportunity as well. And beyond that, you can go management, O&M, maintenance for this project for the next 25, 30, 40, 50 years. There's so many different areas that we can look into to change the format or the landscape and create business opportunities for small minority businesses. They're there, they just have to be broken up. The scorecards that we use right now do not reward companies, minority or majority companies who actually fulfill these things. They're being used as a tool to continue to perpetuate the same old cycle or the same old message. We cannot find a qualified individual or minority company out here that can do the work. When you break it down in those aspects and you create those opportunities, you're creating different industries, different opportunities for different industries, for minorities who are well qualified in certain areas. And you're breaking down walls and barriers and limitations upon the individuals of the community. And you're saying, here's an opportunity, get ready. Because we're talking over $1.5 trillion gap. The mayor mentioned it earlier. The government cannot pay for it all. They cannot pay for it all. And when you reduce taxes from 39% down to a 25% number, how are you going to meet those mandates? And so, and I'm just giving 1.5 as a small token, is much bigger than that. And so you're going to have to get it done one way or the other, whether you're in a city out in the rural or you're an urban city. Either way it goes, growth is going to come one day knocking on your front doorstep. And your small town would not be able to afford the opportunity to build these roads and everything coming your way. You're going to rely on bigger cities who are paying money on the toll roads and so forth to continue to extend it out, which is only going to open up your real estate. So all of this is comprehensive, the way I look at it. I see it, if you tighten up your policy that creates the opportunity for minority companies to be involved in all of these different industries that is coming to support this project, engineering on down. All of that is here. And that's where I think the landscape needs to go in order to continue to find meaningful opportunities for small minority businesses. For us, as we get jobs, our mission is to create opportunities for other minority companies that want to come along with us. And so as we become more, as we become GCs in bigger projects and we have a mandate within our company to go and find women-owned businesses, African-American-led businesses. It doesn't matter to us. If you are willing to do the work and get involved, we're going to provide an opportunity. And we do that. My wife and I do that right now through our own charity. So either way it goes, we're going to do it one way or the other. We're just looking for the opportunity to deploy capital so we can help every mayor in this city achieve the objectives that they're trying to achieve for their constituents in their cities.
Well, thank you. And Joe, we had a great conversation backstage on job training too. And I know you want to add something to this, but our conversation was around public-private partnerships, specifically the building of the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta and the partnerships we created with the Arthur Blank Foundation. And not just minority participation, but also with training people in our underserved communities. So I want you to make your point, but also I'd like to know what cities globally have you seen that's really gotten it right from start to finish?
Actually, that was the point I was going to make. As Emmett was talking about, it begins with civic leadership. And this is a project that my firm bid on and we actually lost, but I'm still going to say nice things about Mayor Garcetti. If you look at he just recently executed on a People Mover project for the LAX airport through a PPP. For the next 35 years after it's built, it's going to have, by contract, a 98.5% on-time performance. Think about that for your local light rail system or subway system. That's a real contract with the people of a benefit they're going to get. But more importantly, on two dimensions here, the mayor set up an Office of Extraordinary Innovation. I know that sounds a bit corny, but it really drove all of us who are trying to compete for the business in LA to think differently about what we might offer. And I've got to give a hand to the folks that beat us, the winning consortium. Their commitment to minority and women investment at the equity level, construction, design, operation and maintenance, as well as a partnership with the local schools, which is similar to what the mayors of Dallas and Mayor of Atlanta have done through their partnerships. That is now going to take a next generation of young kids, come out through the engineering programs and be able to work on these projects over the 35-year operating period. That's the place I'd point to in terms of best in class in the US right now.
And what about globally? Because I know that you're looking at it from also an investment standpoint. What city worldwide would you say has really maximized the opportunities with public-private partnerships?
I guess I'm not sure if I can say this anymore because they used to be our friends, but all you have to do is go to Canada, to Toronto. But I think they might be on the outs, right, depending on who you listen to.
No, they actually didn't burn down the White House, don't worry.
They did not burn the White House.
They didn't even exist yet.
Breaking
you know?
news.
We can still
I'll
say
tell you, Australia, okay.
Australia.
Madrid's done a good job.
Yep.
Spain.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
all over Spain, yeah.
They're a lot more forward thinking outside our borders sometimes than.
So what is it that we can pick up from some of these cities globally that will help us move along our thinking in a very quick way?
I'll tell you what, I mean, look at what London did with the Olympics. I mean, we looked at it for sure, and they revitalized entire parts of town. They looked at opportunities. The Olympics are a strange thing, right? We've had them in Atlanta, Los Angeles, but it'll have been more than 30 years by the time they come in 2028 for Summer Games in America. And it's 17 days, but it makes people do crazy things leading up, right? Because they want to present the best face they have. And we looked at Barcelona, we looked at the legacy. Sometimes the legacy is not just a built legacy, but it's a human legacy. What can you do? If you have the private sector come in, we saved the Olympics in '84 in LA because we had the private sector do a lot of the work instead of the city government. We were able to put that money back into a human infrastructure to build out things like tennis courts in Compton. And lo and behold, you know, Serena and Venus Williams were discovered. Or Russell Westbrook, trained in a basketball program that we funded through the profits of that. So if you look at those kind of moments when you bring these convenings to your cities and festivals, what's the real leave behind of those things? You can find a lot of creativity coming out of the private sector that leaves a human infrastructure built out into your public spaces and your cultural activities as well that I think are really instructive. And it's funny that we're seen as a more capitalist society than Europe, which is seen as more socialist, and yet they're much better at allowing the private sector in to do these things. They're much more capitalistic about it. Their costs are lower, their environmental barriers are lower, even though they're still safe and good and protect the people, whereas here in this more capitalist society, we get in our own way too easily.
You know, I think a mindset of competition amongst us is a positive thing, okay? You mentioned the Olympics, the World Cup, whatever it might be, Amazon, I don't know. Okay, everybody's going to compete.
Yeah.
It's like, how are we going to put on our best foot forward? And we should be in that competitive mode, not to stab each other in the back, but just to raise the bar about how we're doing. And then, when he does something right, to steal it and take it to our city. Exactly. And that's how progress happens.
Like when the cars don't fly in Dallas, we'll get it right in Los Angeles.
Okay, good.
They don't have hills to worry about in Dallas, though. Mountains.
And I know we have a few minutes left. I want to make sure there's nothing else that we didn't cover. And Joe, I'll start with you. Is there anything you'd like to add as we look toward the future and as I enter my 5th month in office? I'm always looking for ways to do it better and to do it differently. So anything you'd like to add?
Sure. I think from a mobility standpoint around metropolitan areas, the revolution in transportation network companies and automated vehicles is something that everyone has got to grasp with. I think today the notion is, oh boy, we sort of let them out of the cage and Uber and Lyft and others are congesting our streets. We're convinced that there is a synergy that can happen with those technologies, with those new industries that have been created. There's more to come. The question is, so how do you develop the policy framework? One of the things that the governor and the mayor here were committed to is to try to develop a fair structure system, the technology, that will allow an individual citizen to become empowered for his or her own mobility. So we're going to have one system that allows you to reserve a parking spot, take a subway trip to an Uber, all on one backbone technology system, and fosters competition among the modes to see who can provide the best service to you at the right price. So there's a revolution happening there, and I think that's going to be a challenge for each of the metropolitan areas to deal with.
There's a great quote from Audre Lorde: "Revolution is not a one-time event."
Yeah.
So I think as we look at our challenges around infrastructure, it is a revolution.
Yeah.
So Emmett, anything you'd like to add?
I would just add, as we start to, as you mayors and citizens start to think about our local community, let's not lose sight of truly not leaving anyone behind. I think oftentimes we come to the table with so many new ideas and concepts, and technology start to move away from older generational communities, and those communities are lacking new things that other new areas have. But on top of that, I think smart cities, if we're going to plan, let's plan well. Let's plan completely well. We have a chance to get it right. And having a chance to travel the world, getting back from Dubai just yesterday, and seeing the things that they're doing over there with smart technology and smart cities. America can definitely use these technologies. Anything to help us become more efficient, help us conserve energy. Not only that, but be forward thinking and smart about it, but creating opportunities for all people alike is really what I would love to see going forward. In America, no one should be left behind. No one. And I think education is a great keystone to making that happen. And social responsibility fall upon us. We cannot ask our kids to be socially responsible when we're not as adults. And so I think that's a primary thing that we must do, is to show an example of what it really, really, truly looks like.
And Mayor Rollins, I know you're entering your final stretch, and we're talking about generational changes and decisions. So what do you hope to leave for Dallas?
I think Emmett spoke well about that the city is doing remarkable, but the gap between the haves and the have-nots is too big. And it's much more fun when everybody's on the same team, moving ahead, and trying to create the systemic systems to last those 20 to 30 years. I have no problem with Dallas over the next 6 or 7 years. The question is, what type of city are we going to be like in 25, and what we're doing now. And on the P3 thing, I would just add one other thing, and that is, don't forget the P philanthropy. The philanthropic spirit in this country is huge. And there's ways you can capture that on a smaller scale, and great ideas happen on smaller scales and take larger. But philanthropists givers want to create a new relationship with government. They don't want to write a check to me, okay? They want to have control. They want to have a voice in this thing as well. So how we work with the philanthropic spirit of America, I think, is important for us as well.
And Mayor Garcetti, so appropriate, you opened us up, so if you
Take
can
it home.
close
I'll
us
stand
out.
between you and a break, so I'll be 45 minutes. So be bold, be responsible, and work together. Be bold because this is here. I loved listening to it. It's not just the built infrastructure. I mentioned electric scooters. There's a company called Bird you might have read about that started dumping scooters on the sidewalk of Santa Monica, a city right next to mine and now in my city. People said, what are these? There's an app, it's 15 cents a minute. If they have this rate of growth that they've experienced just in the first 7 months, in 2 years they will overtake the number of Uber rides in Los Angeles. And people like it because it does take a car off the road. It does have zero emissions. On the other hand, for somebody who's senior and from an intentional community, we don't kill off those bus lines when there's one grandma who still rides it, because we can't, even though it only goes once an hour. She waits forever. And so we've been pitched on new microtransit, which is kind of something between a bus and an Uber that might run every 15 minutes, and she can actually get it to come and take her to the grocery store, and maybe there's somebody else in that small van or car with her, so you can get rid of that very expensive bus line, but she has the solution that meets her. So be bold, but be responsible too. We started an EV car share thing called Blue LA, and we started it in the poorest communities of Los Angeles, because we said, why should electric vehicles and shared cars just be in those wealthy areas? Let's invert that. Let's find out what to be responsible. As we look at $120 billion of transportation, we're doing a lot of job training programs, because we always talk about having a job, but as I mentioned up there, it's about a career. So our community colleges aligned to make sure we're growing up those construction workers and those people putting together a train for the new line in LA. And we're committed to that. We made community college free, and in the first year, 40% increase from our public schools of attendance. So when you are being responsible, it's not just the built infrastructure, again, it's the human piece. And then work together, and I mean that across the tables that are here today. Mayor Walsh brought us together yesterday for the Boston Climate Summit. One of the things we announced was an RFI on energy between the cities of America. We've done this with electric vehicles, so instead of us just buying 5 cars and you 20 cars and you 100, we now have in the western United States, all of us saying together, we need 115,000 vehicles for our fleets in the next few years, which allows car companies to start planning and building that way. And the same thing's going to happen now with energy. So when we come together as a conference, when we come together as mayors and work together, what we can do as one can drive down those prices, can accelerate what happens, and can really exercise the power that where I started, we too often cede to Washington or someplace else.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. If there is a theme for this panel and this conference, I think it could be government doing things differently. Absolutely. So I appreciate all that you all have shared, and I am going back to Atlanta so much more enriched, and I'm sure my team will hate to see me coming with all of the ideas and conversations that we will explore as we tackle transit in our city. So I appreciate you all participating.
I'll tell you, if the mayor thing doesn't work out, you'd make a great TV convener of these ideas. And I know it's going to work out for you. I know it will.
Well, Emmett has shown me there is a life after a life. So we'll stay tuned with that. So thank you all very much.
Thank you for moderating. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Join me in thanking our panelists. Before we adjourn, I want to quickly go over this evening's events, guys. So from 5 to 6, we're going to have 3 best practice forums, preventing and responding to cyber attacks, climate tools and innovations, how to accomplish your climate goals, and new developments in wireless infrastructure with FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr. At 7 o'clock, you're all invited to join us at the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library for a tour of the museum and a New England clam bake. Buses will begin departing for the JFK Presidential Library from the hotel at 6:15. There'll also be buses available for return afterwards, and of course, we'll take you to our late night event at the Museum of Fine Arts, which begins at 10 p.m. Hope to see you there. Hope you found all this incredibly rewarding. God bless you. Good night.